When thinking about bargaining and negotiations, people often think in terms of a pie that needs to be split up in a way that is acceptable to two or more pie eaters. The problem is that the pie cannot become any larger, and therefore, as one person's slice of the pie grows, another person's slice must diminish. And the question becomes, how do we best divide a pie between these two or more parties? Naturally, with a fixed pie, the distribution of pie slices can become competitive and contentious, as we have all experienced at some point in our own lives. Everyone quickly realizes that any gain to another person means a loss to me, and we really don't like that. So what do? Well, we will fight as hard as we can to make sure that we are able to claim as large a slice as possible. And it might quickly become clear that the party's relative amount of power or of leverage will play a crucial role in this negotiation. And negotiations of this type are called distributive negotiations. In most cases, distributive negotiations will boil down to compromise, and the solution, the eventual compromise, follows a straightforward pattern. One person or one party makes a proposal for how to split the pie. They take a position. After the proposal is made, they make an argument for why the split makes sense. It is an attempt to persuade the other side that the proposal is reasonable and fair, given the circumstances. The other party quickly counters with a counter offer. They take a different position. And this position is also followed by an argument for why the first offer was not reasonable and why the counteroffer is in fact reasonable and fair, given the circumstances. The first party probably reluctantly agrees and decides to make a concession, to change their positions so that a greater share of the pie will go to the other side. They then make a new argument for why the new proposal is beneficial to the other side, while highlighting the sacrifices that they made themselves. It is now the second party's turn to make a concession by stating a new position, give a persuasive argument, and so forth. This dance of compromise will continue until, at some point, both parties agree that the final proposal is indeed acceptable. At this point, the distributive negotiation ends, and they can finally eat their pie. Note that what happened here was that two parties engaged in a process of exchanging information, although the information provided was limited to mostly a set of proposals or positions taken. After each position had been stated, the party tried really hard to persuade the other side to accept it. And the other side repeated this process, taking a position and making an attempt to persuade. And in every round, if no agreement was made, then both parties are forced to make concessions, and the game continues or repeats until the two parties reach a compromise that is acceptable to all. Agreement is reached. Of course, quite often such a compromise cannot be reached, and the parties decide to walk away in order to pursue their respective badness. We see that in a distributive negotiation, 3 of the 6 stages of any negotiation become especially important. Of course, the first stage, preparation, is always important. But after that stage is completed and the bargaining really begins, then the 2 stages of persuasion and making concessions are now most important. So in order to become good at conducting a distributive negotiation, good at the game of positional bargaining, you need to master stages 1, 4, and 5 in our 6-stage negotiation framework. As a reminder, stage 1, preparation. Learn as much as you can about the substantive issue as well as the other side, and then determine what the building blocks of the negotiation are. Stage 4, persuasion. Become as good as possible at persuading others to accept your initial proposal, remembering that both rationality and emotions are at play. And stage 5, making concessions. Be good at controlling the concession process. And naturally, your aim is to make small concessions in return for large concessions from the other side.